Exercise 12.2, Integrated Sales Analysis. In the last exercise, we analyzed sales and customer data from individual tables. In this exercise, we'll go one step further and integrate the data across tables using the index match function. This will enable us to analyze data stored in multiple tables. Our data analysis can become more varied because we aren't confined to fields from a single table. You may recall our database design. We had buyers, we have sellers, and they share a common child table, which is sales, which is effectively where buyers and sellers meet. In this exercise, you're actually going to be adding columns to the sales table, and effectively you're going to suck all of the columns from the buyers table and bring them on here to sales using index match. You're also going to pull one field from the sellers table. If you look back over here, you'll see that category was part of the sellers table. We'll bring that one in as well. You're going to build a pivot table for each scenario. And for some of these problems, like 1A and 1B, you're going to put two pivot tables on the same sheet. You've never done that before. For 2A and 2B, the same thing, and for 6A and 6B. For each problem, you're going to put the sheet title, sheet tab label, and you're going to comment on your findings and conclusions. So I'll work on 1A and 1B. Top selling apps for women, top selling apps for men. Instead of doing this in a single pivot table, I'm going to do it in two. And the reason is because I want to sort top selling for women and top selling for men. And if they're in the same table, I can't sort for one without messing up the other. But if they're in two different tables, I can do that. So I'm going to start over here on the sales table, and you'll see on the sales table that we have already brought in the gender field, male and female. How did we do that? We did that using index match. There's the command. You can see it up here a little bit more clearly on the formula line. And that index match is what does brings the two together. All right. You're going to do the same thing for these other fields. I'm going to go ahead and start a pivot table. So I'll go to the Insert tab, Pivot Table. It's going to come out of Sales, and it's going to be a new worksheet. When I come right back here in a minute, it's going to be into an existing worksheet, the one that we're building right now. All right, there's the Pivot Table Builder. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can see. And we want top selling apps for women. So we want apps, and we're going to count how many times each app sold, and then we're going to put a filter condition by gender that we only want the apps that sold to women. When we pull the filter down, it defaults to all, but if we click this little drop down arrow, we can uncheck select all and just pick women. So now we only have data for women. And then click on one of these cells, right click and sort, largest to smallest, and now we have the full list of top selling apps for women. So for women, what did they buy? Boredom Buster, Mario Kart, Weather Wardrobe, PubHub, Snap and Shop, and so forth. Now let's see if that picture changes for the men. All right, before I get there, let me go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a couple of rows here. I'll go back to the intro and get the text that we're supposed to have. Paste it in. I'll boldface that. And then I'll change this sheet label to something that makes it clear kind of what it is. We'll call it top selling. Okay. Now let's go get the men. So I'll click back on sales, and in the sales tab, I'm going to start a new pivot table. Insert pivot table, sales. This time I want to go into an existing worksheet, not a new one. So I'm going to click existing. It's going to ask me to navigate to it by clicking on this, what looks like a little tiny red arrow inside of a grid. click on that. I then have to go find, so it's going to be in the top selling. Click over here to top selling. I have to position this very precisely so that it lines up effectively at the same height as the green title bar of the prior pivot table. So I'll click right here, then click back on that little red arrow with the grid, and now we just continue. There's the pivot table, and then I build it the same way. So I'll bring app over here into rows, count timestamp into values, and then we want to limit by gender, so I'll pull gender into the filter, but this time I don't want all. In fact, I'm going to have to scroll over so you can see this. It's trying to hide that menu. Really trying to hide the menu. There we go. We'll scoot it over. Instead of select all, uncheck that, pick just the males, close this up, sort of scooch this over, and then I want to put this one in descending order also. So I'm going to right click, largest to smallest. And the reason I wanted to have both of them on the same sheet is because we'd really like to be able to make statements about, what are the differences in preference between men and women? You can see here, for example, for the top selling app, for women it was Boredom Buster, for men it was Mario Kart. But Mario Kart was also tied for top with the women, but Snap and Shop was second with the men. And so you're going to go through here and talk about what you've seen with these findings. Then that information goes over here. In fact, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. We had it as 1A and 1B, but it would actually make more sense to call this top selling apps for women versus men. And then I'll click here on boldface, and I'll actually put my results here. So what we observe is ... And then you go ahead and make your observation, your insightful observation, based upon your data analysis. And you're going to do similar things for the other problems. This is really cool stuff, intense data analysis, and it's your data. It's about you and your classmates. So enjoy.